to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and you're about to listen to a hypnosis session all about reducing anxiety. And for this client, it was a specific type of anxiety. It was anxiety triggered by bugs like bees and wasps and flying insects. But the structure of this means that it can be worked for any fear, any triggering event. And originally I was going to use this virtual reality metaphor so they could imagine taking a first-person perspective. But it dawned on me that actually we want to make this feel more like reality, even though it was in their imagination. And I remember a part of an old TV show called Star Trek where they had something called the Holodeck. And the Holodeck was essentially a room that could generate any kind of environmental kind of context. It could be outside, it could be inside, and it would feel like reality, but they wouldn't have a mask. They would just see it in the room. So I used the metaphor of a holodeck plus a metaphor of a movie called Groundhog Day, where the day repeats and repeats and repeats. And this does two things. It enables them to take a first-person perspective in the kind of environments that used to cause fear, but in a resourceful way, and to feel that they can collapse time, that they could have 100 iterations of the same event and get the benefit of experiencing less and less anxiety through the law of familiarity. So whether you have a fear of bugs or a fear of something else, for example, it could be a fear of public speaking. You could imagine being in the holodeck, imagine being on that stage or doing that presentation. And then instead of 3 or 4 presentations over a year, you could have 3 or 4 presentations over the space of 3 minutes. And that would feel like you're collapsing time, because a lot of people are anxious if they don't do something very frequently. I remember I used to get very anxious recording my voice, and I don't get anxious at all doing that because I've done it so many times. And that element of having iterations in a resourceful sense gives that ability to wire the neural pathway that links resourcefulness with the very behavior that maybe in the past was linked to avoidance or trepidation. So there's a bit going on here, but at its core, it's about imagining doing the thing you fear in a resourceful way so often that it loses all of its power to create anxiety for you. Some of the suggestions will relate to insects because that's the client that I was working with. That's their trigger. Yours might not be that. So ignore any suggestions that don't fit quite right for you. Feel free to allow your unconscious to evolve it and change it to make it more relevant for you. But if you do like the idea of a bespoke session created specifically for you and experienced live rather than through a recording, check out the description or visit my website, adamcox.co.uk, and you'll be able to schedule a completely free consultation call to explore working with me. We'll have a chat in that 30-minute call. I'll explain my process, how I work, and what it would cost and how many sessions I think we're going to need to help have a breakthrough. And that's completely free in that consultation call. You get to decide if you want to work with me or not. And I would say about half of the people that do a consultation call end up working with me, and the other half, it's not quite right. Maybe it's slightly more expensive than they thought. Maybe it's something else and they just don't feel it's the right time. Totally fine. There is no expectation or obligation to work with me just because you have a consultation call. So bear that in mind. I'm happy if people work with me or if they don't work with me. The key thing is that I want to work with people that really feel that I am able to have an impact with them. That said, you may get some value from this recording of a session that was created for someone else. So find a quiet, comfortable place, the kind of place where you won't be disturbed. Relax and enjoy the session.
I had that dream again. my small business needs to hire, but I don't use LinkedIn, and I hire wrong. So then I'm doing IT, and when I go to plug the servers in, they become sentient, and they won't let us access our network unless we forward their chain emails and memes to more and more and more people, and then I wake up.
Don't let hiring nightmares ruin your dreams. LinkedIn Jobs' new AI assistant finds and invites best fit candidates to apply so you can discover talent you may have missed. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/quality. Start hiring today with LinkedIn.
Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in a feeling of pure, resourceful relaxation. And as you exhale, just imagine any fears, worries, doubts, or insecurities start to leave your body slowly, surely, gradually, in every outward breath. Breathing in resources like confidence and exhaling anxiety. Almost like each breath gives you more of those feelings of resourcefulness and releases emotions connected to historical ideas that were never true then, and certainly aren't true now. I want you to get a feeling that there are certain things that you do that other people in the world are terrified by. And there's certain things that used to create anxiety for you that would be insignificant to someone else. And therefore it stands that it can't possibly be the thing itself, but the way you're thinking about the thing that either opens up resources or shuts those resources down, either creates feelings of calm confidence, that wonderful ability to be capable when you need it, or to increase anxiety and trepidation that impedes your ability to resolve the situation anyway. So as you breathe in and breathe out, I want you to create a change to a belief, because you've been using vigilance and avoidance as your primary coping strategies. And if they were working well then surely you wouldn't be feeling as much anxiety as you felt. What we can say is that, what if there's something better than vigilance, overthinking, and avoidance that actually helps? What instead of overthinking, you just think, I can handle it? Instead of anxiety keeping you safe, what if calm confidence keeps you safer? Instead of avoidance, I want you to get a sense that avoidance just continues the myth that you can't handle the situation. So instead of avoidance, I want you to unlock courage. Because the moment you do something that is not avoiding, but is leaning toward that thing you used to run away from, well then you get to desensitize and rewire through experience rather than imagination. I want you to think of something from your past that the first time you did it, you felt nervous. And the third time, less nervous. And the seventh time, hardly any nerves at all. And on the 113th time you did it, you can't even remember. It was that meaningless, that insignificant, because you had irrefutable evidence that you could handle that situation, and therefore your brain didn't need to be vigilant or avoidant. Capability is a better coping strategy. So as you breathe in and breathe out, just imagine. I want you to imagine a virtual reality room. Consider it from the future, like a holodeck. That whenever you go into that room, you experience a reality as if it's real. It can take you inside a room, out in nature, and everything looks exactly as it would do, as if it was real. But because it's a holodeck, I want you to imagine that you can distort time. Days can last seconds, and you can repeat day after day after day until you've completely rewired a connection between thought, idea, and emotion. And I want you to imagine dialing up your confidence, relaxation, resourcefulness, to feel that none of this is real, and even if it was, you can cope. And I want you to imagine a specific type of situation that in the past may have caused you some anxiety. But as you imagine that first-person perspective, I want you to imagine feeling calm, confident, and resourceful. And then imagine iteration 1 of doing something different than you did, perhaps in the past, or would have done if the anxiety was real. I want you to imagine doing things as you would do if you were calm and confident. Just allow that courage to be amplified. Courage is not the absence of anxiety. It's the willing to take action even if there is anxiety. So activate that courage and imagine doing the thing you would have liked to have done it. And notice that the anxiety is lower. Just imagine a child that doesn't look under a bed because they think there's a monster there, and they're lying on the bed filled with anxiety, and all they have to do is to look under the bed to know that the monster doesn't exist. Your anxiety has never been the things. Not a bee, not a wasp, not an insect. It's been the stories you've been telling yourself and memories of previous emotions. The real monster is a mirage, and simply by doing things differently, that mirage disappears. Imagine now, iteration 2, the same thing, but almost like a day has passed. Notice how it feels easier. And then iteration 3, imagine 3 days. The third time, even easier. Each time you feel more confident and more resourceful. And each time the anxiety is harder to find. Now jump to day 7. Day 7 of doing exactly the same thing, and now Notice how elusive that anxiety is. In fact, the harder you try, the more elusive the anxiety becomes. I want you to feel that you are the one in control. You have choices, you have options. Move away, move closer. Guide them away. Just be curious. Be grateful even. Be fascinated or courageous. There was a million ways of handling all of these previous situations. And perhaps, unconsciously, you were choosing one of the worst strategies as your default strategy. But now you've got so many other options. And I want you to imagine as each iteration repeats, create a new way of handling that same situation until you find the one that feels the most empowering, the most relaxed, the most confident. And I want you to get a feeling that the way that you can convince yourself that a fear is gone is never by avoiding the thing. It's by doing the thing and knowing that you can handle it. That is the nail in the coffin of any fear. But there is a fine line between fearless and reckless. Just because you don't fear a bee anymore doesn't mean you should poke it. Doesn't mean you should kick a hornet's nest. And that's not fear. That is discernment and intelligence. I want you to get a feeling that there are certain things you've been considering as threats that were never threats. But when you consider the real threat and decide that it's not something that you would invite, then your need to be vigilant or on guard goes away. I want you to imagine yourself in that same holodeck chamber a year from now. A whole year of having evidence of being able to cope with insects in every environment. They enter your living space. You wait for them to leave, or you use a fan to waft them away. You eat outdoors. If an insect comes nearby, you can just wait for it to leave. And it will. Or maybe walking past a particular bush on a beautiful sunny day. And a year from now, you will experience a moment where you've walked past a bush that you once avoided and totally forgot there were any insects there at all. Because the real victory of defeating a fear isn't through bravery and courage. It's waiting for that neural pathway to give you ambivalence. You simply don't care. So imagine having that ambivalence a year from now, and just all of those things that used to make you feel anxious. Imagine feeling ambivalent in the same situation. This holodeck can speed up time. Moments that took 5 or 10 minutes in reality can be 2 or 3 seconds in your mind. Each moment repeat and you feel unbothered, unfazed, nonchalant, and completely ambivalent in the same situation. Change the scenario, change the environment, but in all cases, your nervous system reacts as if there is no threat at all, because there isn't, and there never was. Sometimes people create a belief based on a sample size that is too small. If that belief was true for you, surely it should be true for everyone, and yet wasn't. So allow that belief to fade away, just like beliefs of Santa Claus and tooth fairies. And the moment it goes away, the emotions also evaporate. Imagine leaving the holodeck, but feeling that you've trained your brain at altitude and now are looking forward to doing what you've done in your mind in reality, to seek out those things that you once avoided, not forever, just until you don't care anymore. When there is no dopamine or feeling of pride of doing that thing, that's not a bad thing. That means the rewiring is complete. The second river is the one that's flowing, and the old river is drying up. So as you hold that thought, that idea, unleash that desire to do those things that once terrified you. Just like a child looking under the bed and seeing that the monster never existed. So take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, connect and calibrate into the here and the now. As I count from 1 to 10, you will float back to your present, but with new beliefs, new ideas, new resources, and an eagerness to banish these beliefs that were never true. Starting to count 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Hypnotist. If you've enjoyed this episode or got some value from it, please give it a 5-star rating and review. And maybe you know someone that would also benefit from this particular episode, in which case share the episode with them so they can also get the benefit too. And if you would like to listen to this episode where it's just the hypnosis, so no intro, no outro, no explanation, just the hypnosis and completely ad-free, there will be a link in the description where you can subscribe at a very low cost and only get access to the hypnosis. So if that's of interest, please check that out. Thank you again for being a regular listener of The Hypnotist, and I'll see you again soon for more.